Shalom, shalom. Today is the 7th of Adar, and this is a very special day. It is the birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's also the anniversary of his yahrzeit. This was also the day that when he passed away. We are told by our sages that he did not die from any sicknesses or accident or anything. It was simply a kiss from the divine. In fact, the Aaron and Miriam and Moshe and no doubt Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov, when they passed away, it was with a kiss from the divine. The kiss from the divine. So before I get into the little teaching that I'm going to be sharing, I want to play a song, one of my songs that's up on YouTube. This was inspired by this whole thing about receiving a kiss from the divine. So in honor of Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to play this song. Okay. Here we go.
Something inside me is moving. Something is stirring deep inside. I awake to the beauty all around me. Seeing the world through your eyes. And now I can see beauty in the dark clouds. Beauty in the rain. Storms and the turbulent waves. Though darkness might hide you, I know you are near. For to the heart that truly seeks you, you are never far away. Oh. Seasons come and seasons go. Summer's heat and winter's cold. Loved ones pass, friends disappear. It's so good to know you're always near. Now I gain strength through every trial. Every test is a step higher. The gods are bold like Jacob's ladder, by which I scale the heights. Rising and touch the sky and kiss the face of my God, who is never. With a kiss from the divine of Abraham, Isaac and Israel.
Wow. Just think about it. Just imagine. Wow. And so, Moshe Rabbeinu, such a great man. You know, the day came when he was to die, and Hashem says to him, ascend these heights of Abarim, because he wanted to show him the land that he had longed to, and he had yearned, and he had prayed so diligently for Hashem to allow him to enter the land. And Hashem says, no, enough, stop. No more praying about this. It's not going to happen. And, but he's told him, okay, I'm going to give you something. I'm going to allow you to see the land, to look over the land. So I want to draw your attention to a passage in Bamidbar, in Numbers chapter 13 verse 1 through chapter 15 verse 41 is Parshat Shlech Lecha. And I want to talk about ascending to a higher spiritual level, a higher spiritual madrega, because this is what Moshe was all about. And this is the great lesson that he taught us, that we must always be looking upwards, heading upwards, not down, not looking down. That's not good, not for the Jew. The Jew has to always be heading in an upward trajectory. So in Parshat Shlach, Moshe Rabbeinu sent out 12 spies, the 12 Meraglim, to go on a walking tour of the land. Each spy was a chosen leader of his tribe. This meant that they were men of high caliber and excellent character. Yet they made the biggest blunder of their generation. They brought back bad reports and slandered the land, thus causing the people to lose heart and refuse to enter the land. As a result, 10 out of the 12 Meraglim died from the onset of a terrible plague shortly after their return, while the rest of those who were 20 years old and above, all those who were subject to military service, were cursed to die in the wilderness over the course of the remaining 38 years. How could these men of such high distinction bring such a terrible judgment on the entire nation? The tragic events that brought about the 40 years of wandering through the desert drive home the fact that our leaders are often far more vulnerable than we would like to think. Certainly they are nothing like the superheroes we glorify in the movies. They are real people with real struggles, and sometimes they make real mistakes which may have catastrophic events. Take, for example, the man of the hour, Moshe Rabbeinu, led Israel through the desert 40 years. And at that time, at the end, when they're at the finish line, he made a terrible mistake, and it cost him the opportunity to enter the land. So you see, as great as he was, the one prophet, no one like Moshe has ever risen up since. There has not been a prophet like Moshe who spoke to God face to face, so to speak. In real time. None like Moshe Rabbeinu. And yet, he was still subject to making mistakes. And he made this terrible mistake. So before they set out, Moshe gave the men clear and concise instructions and guidelines for them to follow. And I have extrapolated about 10 from the text, and they are as follows. Number one, they were to go up there into the Negev and the hill country. Number two, they were to see what kind of country it is. Number three, they were to be able to deduce whether the people who dwell in it were strong or weak. Number four, they were to deduce whether they were few or many. They were to deduce whether the land or the country was good or bad. Number six, they were to see if the towns were fortified or if they were open. Number seven, they were to see if the soil was rich or poor. Number eight, they were to see, was there a lot of trees? Was it wooded or bare? Number nine, they were to see whether there were a lot of fruit trees. And number 10, they were to make sure to bring back some of the produce of the land. Okay. So now we're only going for this talk. We're only going to look at one, because that's the one that is most relevant to this yahrzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu, and I think it's really relevant for us right now. And that one was go up there into the Negev and the hill country. Now Moshe impressed these 10 guidelines upon them, and I believe that if they had followed those guidelines carefully, then they would have been able to accomplish the mission. So they were well prepared. Based on these guidelines, they were well prepared for the task ahead of them. And because of the nature of the quest upon which they were embarking, it was important for them to realize that Moshe's instructions were not simply to be taken on the surface level. Okay? They're not on the Peshat level, and we too must perform our due diligence in searching out the deeper spiritual meaning underlying each of these 10 instructions. But like I said, we're going to only work on one today. Elaborating on each of these 10 guidelines would significantly lengthen this Dvar Torah, turning it into a full-length sermon or even an entire shiur. But I don't want to do that right now. Okay, I'll therefore expound on only the first one of these 10 at this time. The first instruction was for them to aluze. Those are the first words. Aluze. Go up there into the Negev and the hill country. Aluze. This was a very straightforward and seemingly simple task. But considering that they were coming from Egypt, which was a place of spiritual descent, the instruction to ascend was not just about physically climbing to a higher geographical altitude, but to ascend to a higher spiritual level, a higher madrega. Considering that Amalek, the perpetual enemy of Am Yisrael, inhabited the Negev, it was necessary for them to maintain the spiritual high ground, especially when venturing into such a tough neighborhood. After all, these were the people. Amalek was the one who attacked Israel from the rear, cutting down the weak and straggling ones, lacking any fear of God. The battle which ensued from this ambush was by far not just a physical one, for whenever Moshe's arms became tired and fell, Amalek would prevail, and whenever his arms were uplifted, Israel would prevail. that goes back to this whole topic of ascending or looking higher, looking up, looking upwards, not looking down, not remaining on a horizontal level, but having a vertical mindset. Okay? So we see what happens when, Moshe's strength failed and the people, their hearts would grow, weakened because they were not looking to God. But when his arms were uplifted, it was not that they were looking at his arms, they were looking to God. They were looking to heaven. They were looking, this is what David Amelech wrote. He says, I lift my eyes to the hills. What is the source of my strength? My strength comes from Adonai, Hashem, maker of heaven and earth. Okay, so the whole point was, it's not that he was doing some great magical feat by having his arms uplifted. No, it was the sign to the people, look to Hashem, and that's what Alezu, that's what that is all about. They were never to trust in their own selves and in their own strengths and in their own strategies. They were to look to Hashem. So ascending and going up there into the Negev and the hill country, they need to make sure that their focus was in the right place. Their attention was in the right place. And they were not distracted by all the shenanigans of Amalek. This was a supernatural battle more than anything else. And Amalek was known, according to our sages and commentators, to employ and incorporate black magic in their warfare. This ascent was in a way similar to the ascent of Moshe when Hashem commanded him to ascend these heights of Abarim. Okay, so let me take you over there to the passage. Ale el har ha'avarim hazeh. Ale el har ha'avarim hazeh har nevo. Asher be'eretz Moav. Okay. So what is it? What does the English says? It says, ascend these heights of Avarim to Mount Nevo. Ale el har ha'avarim hazeh har Nevo. Which is in the land of Moab, facing Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving the Israelites as their holding. This was so that he could see the land of Israel from the summit of Mount Nebo. Note that the word Avarim, this is very important, and this is so cool. The word Avarim or Abarim is spelled exactly the same as the word Ivrim. So Ivrim means Hebrews. Abarim means heights. So what is that telling us? So instead of reading it as the heights of Avarim, we should read it as the heights of the Ivrim, or the heights of the Hebrews. In so doing, we can understand that the path of the Hebrew or the Jew is always to be on an upward trajectory, even at the point of death. Even at the point of death, A Jew must always strive to elevate him or herself towards perfection in this world. Think about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was sick, and his son Yosef received the message that his father was sick. So he went to visit, and what does the Torah tells us? That he summoned up the strength to sit up in his bed, to sit on the side of his bed. He summoned his strength. And when he was finished giving the blessings, what did he do? He pulled his legs, his feet up in the bed, and his soul departed. His soul departed. That divine kiss must have been that divine kiss, because he didn't die from the sickness. It was not the sickness that took him. The sickness was just a grace that he had prayed for, that he had asked for, because before that, people would sneeze and bam, they would die. Their spirits would leave. They would die. They never knew when it was going to happen, where it was going to happen. And so our traditions tell us that Yaakov says, "Oh, Hashem, it's not fair. It's not fair, that we don't have time to set our houses in order and to say goodbye to our families and so on." So he was the first one in the Torah that it mentioned that he was sick. He had a sickness. And so it was when he left his body, it was not because of that sickness. The sickness gave him the opportunity to gather his family around him to give out the blessings. But when he died, he just simply closed his eyes and his neshama exited his body. That was it. But the whole point that I'm getting at with this is that is the whole ascension. He the way he even at the point of death, he summoned his strength to sit up in his bed with his feet on the ground, to be able to give the blessings to his children. And that is the story of what it's all about. Moshe Rabbeinu was going to die. Hashem told him that he was going to die. And Hashem said before he died, go up, ascend. So even this is what I'm getting at, even at the point of death, a Jew must always strive to elevate him or herself, must always strive to work on his midot, his or her midot. Okay? That is a lesson that I really want to drive across. The Torah tells us that Moshe saw all of Eretz Yisrael from Dan, the northernmost part, all the way to the southernmost Beersheba, from Dan to Beersheba, from the top of Mount Nebo. According to my Rabbi Shoshana Pfefferman, a native Israeli who has been on Mount Nebo, located in Jordan, there is no way one can see the entire land of Israel from that vantage point, even with perfect eyesight. Therefore, as she puts it, the only way Moshe was able to see the entire land in detail was by means of prophetic vision. Har Nevo was the summit of the heights for Moshe. These were indeed the heights of prophecy. And guess what? These things stare us in the face so often. Nevo means prophecy. Actually, it means prophet. Nevo means prophet. Aluzeh also refers to the heights of prophecy, specifically prophetic vision into which every Hebrew or Jew is commanded to ascend in order to see clearly and maintain victory over Amalek. Once a Jew understands that his or her purpose is to continually ascend, he or she can never see the world or Eretz Yisrael in the same light ever again. Each of us have our individual heights that we must scale in order to perfect ourselves in this life. For Avram Avinu, it was Har Moriah. For David HaMelech, it was Yerushalayim, Har Zion. For Eliyahu Hanavi, it was Har Sinai. Each of these places represent the summit of their individual successes in the battle against their inner Amalek, the Yetzer Hara. Now, as individual Jews, we must ask ourselves, what heights do we need to scale? Do we have to scale in order to perfect ourselves, overcome Amalek, and see the world and Israel in a new light?